Welcome to the Encore Audio Archives YouTube channel. I'm Taper Dave, and this is my channel. I've uploaded hundreds of talks here that I've recorded at meetings in West LA, and I've also recorded conventions starting in 2013. I've got a bunch of those up. And Walt and Mary Murray, the original owners of Encore Audio Archives, started the company in the 80s, and Walt recorded Joe and Charlie's and a bunch of stuff down in Vista, California. My sobriety date is June 20th of 1994. I hope you find something you like, so please like and subscribe to my channel and comment down below. If you want to hear something that I don't have or that you don't see, I'll see that I get it. Anyways, take care and have a great day if you want to.
Oh my, here we are. Well, my name is Joe and I'm an alcoholic, and I want to congratulate everybody who took chips, and there's no birthdays tonight. Well, another month you'll have a birthday. I'll be up here. I'll have 20 years on June 28th, so that's a big deal to me. And we'll roll out the barrel or something, huh? Barrel of hot water, that's all I drink these days. All the way from whiskey to hot water. Well, I want to thank Terry. I know Terry very well back there, waving at me. You're there, Terry, baby. My eyes aren't that good anymore, but I can see you back there. Terry and I drank together for more than, I don't know how many years. Big Ed's principally, wasn't it, Terry, there? And Barney's Beanery. I don't know if you ever got up there, but those bars were kind of notorious for a few other things. Barney's Beanery, they had that great artist who was painting everybody in the bar, and I was sitting there, but I'm not sure I get into his world-famous painting that is hung in a museum now somewhere. And of course, over the other place is where they filmed Barfly, and if you saw Barfly, that was in Big Ed's. You won't find Big Ed's. It's been torn down, and there's a parking lot over there now where... But anyway, so Terry and I go way back. We've been kind of holding each other up while we're here in AA, and probably held each other up when we were drinking, so... It's amazing how that goes in AA. You keep bumping into people that you once had a few drinks with. Well, this meeting, you know, I had a little handle in it with Sophie. I don't know who was here in the beginning, but remember, I don't know who remembers Sophie, but we met down in the little village there in Playa del Rey at Outlaw's Restaurant, and that was the beginning of this Playa del Rey meeting, and we stayed there about 5 or 6 weeks, and then we pushed up to the Women's Club there on Manchester, where I think we stayed for about 12 years, didn't we? I know my son got sober at that meeting one time up there on Friday night, same night as this one. And so I started coming over here when Terry was became whatever he is there, secretary. Secretary, and I just live over here on Regis Way now. For years I lived down in Playa del Rey. Anyway, did a lot of drinking down there in Playa del Rey, and knew all the pubs over there. But I'll go back to how it all began. I'm from Boston, and I'm Irish, and I'm Catholic, and I'm an alcoholic, and I don't know if that spells, what is that, CIA or something. You always hear people say, you know, I'm a Catholic, Irish, and hopeless. Or alcoholic, and I got started quite early. My father was an alcoholic, and he got me going by the time I was 3, 4, 5 years old, with the beer primarily. But by the time I was 9 or 10, I was drinking whiskey, and I haven't played the piano in some years, but there was a time I could play pretty good. He played in all the old movies. He played in the silent movies, and he played ragtime and slide piano. He could play anything. He knew all the old jazz songs. Principally the ones. What was his name? Wrote 103. Ragtime. And so I grew up with him playing and drinking, and so it was natural for me. I started playing a little bit and drinking too. So by the time I'm 10, I'm drinking pretty good. I don't know. It wasn't a half pint every day, but I wasn't turning down anything at that time, and. So that's how it all began. He died from alcoholism, my father, and 3 of my uncles died from this disease, and both of my grandfathers died from alcoholism. And so the odds weren't too good that I would ever prevail to the age that I am, coming up on 70 here August 1st. So a bit of a miracle in many ways, because I've come through a lot of things in these last 8, 9 years. I went blind 8 years ago from diabetes, and I didn't even know I had diabetes. And the early doctors diagnosed it all as just an old wound. I was in the Marines and during Korea, and I said, well, what the hell, but we got to do something about this blood pouring in here. And after a while, I couldn't see anything, and my retinas were breaking down from diabetes. And so I had some surgeries, really on the cutting-edge surgeries over a 3-year period. Now I can see about 20%, so. And that's plenty good enough for me. When you can't see anything, believe me, 20% is holy hallelujah. Thank God. Singing, Amazing Grace there, that God would save a wretch like me in the beginning, just getting into this program. And but I was blind and now I see. That's an incredible, should be the AA theme song. Maybe we'll have to take a vote on that. But by the time I'm 14, I'm, I was starting to go to work. I work with Pesci Construction in Chelsea. I don't know if anybody's from Boston here. If they are, you go under the summer tunnel there and you go over to Chelsea. My uncle was the mayor of Chelsea for many years, 20 years, and he had 14 little Murphys. His name was Murphy, Andrew Murphy, and I don't think he could read or write. I mean, literally, but the 14 little kids was all he needed, and he was a good mayor, as mayors go. He was pretty good. He was good to me anyway. I got to work with this Pesci Construction when I was 13, 14 years old, and the drinking, the reason I bring it up, the drinking really began to accelerate. We'd go off every noon, and I'm drinking with guys who were 30, 40, 50 years of age, and, hey, kid, what do you mean, who you calling kid here, so I was putting them down with them pretty good, too. So by the time I'm 19, I'm joining the Marine Corps. I went to Boston College High School. I went to Catholic schools. Principally Jesuit schools, high school, college, and I went to Loyola Marymount up here, went to law school up here. So you see what you get with the Jesuits. You're right back in AA again, and of course, thank God I am, because. But after, then I joined the Marines. I was in my 3rd year at BC, and I had no reason to. But maybe it was an alcoholic thing. I don't know. We come to these little crossroads all the time, I think. The bottles tinkling up one crossroad there, and with whatever else is on that road, and of course up the other road is sanity, and why don't you stay in school? I didn't have to go in the Marines. I wasn't being drafted or anything. I got a surge of what I thought was patriotism, and a lot of my buddies were coming home, and well, they weren't coming home in bags, and they're coming home just in boxes, caskets, and so I said to hell with it, let's get in this thing and see if we can't, But anyway, my drinking really took off in the Marines, and in those years, just to enlist in the Marines, you had to have a half pint in your pocket or something. They were delighted that I was, half in the tank when I went over there to sign up, and then we had to swear in, and then they had a big parade running through Boston. It turns out there was about 100 of us that joined at the same time from Massachusetts, all over the state, and they came in, and so we were already heroes, you know what I mean? The ladies coming off the curbs and everybody, a lot of my friends were there, and had a big party the night before. It must have been 300-400 friends. They gathered, and oh, what a night. Boy, I got shit-faced that night. I mean, really tanked. And so after I came out of the Marines, I got out in 56. I went in 52. I got married, met a girl out here in California. I was on my way to go back to Boston. I had a big old Buick 51 Super convertible by that time, and I had 4 or 5 guys that were going to go with me, drop them off in Columbus or in Pennsylvania, up the turnpike there and so forth. And well, I met Mary Ann, and the whole thing switched like a flick of the eye. There I was. God, fell in love madly, I guess. She did too. It was one of the world's great love affairs. We ended up having many children, and in my drinking, I started up a business, public relations business, went to law school nights. I had a scholarship to go to Harvard Law School and turned that down. Another alcoholic decision, what the hell, I can always go to law school, and who the hell wants to go to Harvard, no big deal. It's crazy how our minds work, Bill says many times in the literature, in the book in particular, or in the 12 and 12, he's got that great line, with drink in hand, I whop my brain, he says there. And And only an act of providence could relieve me of the phenomenon of craving and the obsession for the bottle. And I'm paraphrasing it a little bit, but only an act of providence. And in the first chapter, his story, he says something like that on page 13. I know I sound like Howard now, by the way, but if you heard Howard here, was it last week he was here, Howard, or 2 weeks ago? God, he's another one I drank with for years, a tattletale over there. He mentioned it, I think, that night he shared here, but I eventually began to work in meatpacking houses in the early 70s, and Howard would be over at the Tattletale in the morning with his three-piece suit on and his little briefcase, and I'd be showing up there with big old blue coveralls we wore in the meatpacking plant down at Young's Meats down in Central Avenue. And but in the bar, we're all, drunks, alcoholics, and he was glad to see me, and I'd get him a few. And well, who was one of the first men I met when I got to AA? It was Howard. So I thought for sure he had died. He really would put him down. I'm not trying to. I mean, in his brief time there in the Tattletale, he would match me anyway, and I usually had doubles going. I drank Irish whiskeys and every now and then an occasional beer to wash it all down, as we say, chase it down. But anyway, Howard was there at my first meeting, and I'll get to that, I hope, in a minute here. After we got married, we went back to Boston. I finished up at college, graduated in '58 from BC, Boston College, and by that time we had how many kids? 3 kids. So we eventually, we ended up raising 8 children, and we had 6 of our own, but later on, I adopted a couple more. So there was a time I'd say a lot about that. Well, 2 were adopted and 6 we had, but now I've come to think, well, we have 8 kids, and it just leaves it at that. The 2 that I adopted were as tight with me. They always have been, On Mother's Day, even, I get cards, and Daddy, you've been a mother to me. You know the cards, you open them up and they sing a little song there? I got one from Bridget here this past Mother's Day, of all things. So, anyway, what happened then? Well, I got out of BC and came out here and opened up a public relations business days, went to law school nights. Got busy working with the Kennedy people when they ran for president, Jack. I knew the family, not well, but I knew them in Boston. We were entirely from different sides of the track, and there's no question about that. But when he came out of the, got out of the Navy after the PT boat incident there, he was a regular hero in Boston to all of us. And I think he got a few medals, didn't he, for that? He saved a couple of guys, I know that. Well, they wrote the book. A buddy of mine wrote the book, Dick Breen. And then I think he wrote the screenplay, too, for that movie, PT 109. And he was working with me in Beverly Hills at the time he wrote the book, so it's a small world in many ways. Anyway, I did a lot of work in the campaign, and I worked with the unions in town, and got to know them well. And of course, drinking was walking lockstep with me all the way up through all this. I was never as bad then as I would get to be in the end, of course, but not of course, but my story is in the end I was, oh boy, I was finished. So then the family grew, bought a home in Playa del Rey, right in the beach over there, right on Waterview at Whitlock. The house is still over there. And we lived there, and we had the rest of our family there, and would run down on the beach with our 2 dogs. Had a big old German Shepherd that was more wolf than he was German Shepherd, but we got on well with him. We had a Labrador dog, and every morning I'd be down there running. I started playing rugby in the early 60s over in Eagle Rock, the old ERACs, the Eagle Rock Athletic Club, and it was a good deal, because my drinking then, I'm drinking more and more and more, and I never want to say, well, it was a pint or a quart or 2 quarts, because I have no way of knowing. I could drop in a bar and have 5, 6 double shooters and walk out in 20 minutes and get right on back into whatever was coming down. So it was like that in the 60s. My wife became very ill in 65. Her father came up and told her all about this incest he had with her. So these things we're hearing these days, it's nothing new about it. Destroyed her right on the spot. She ended up going totally schizophrenic and ended up at St. John's Hospital and never came out of it. Sad thing. The family, my children and I, we thought that it would pass, that she would get well one day, but she never did. And she eventually died. She died here only, 9 years ago. She died of cancer in the kidneys, of all things. over at St. Vincent's Hospital, and so that was a hell of a shock. There I was raising all these children alone after that, and I mean, when she first got sick, it was a hell of a blow, and made all the rounds. I had all kinds of insurances, but you know, with mental illness, as some of you who know who are in the medical profession, they don't pay a penny towards anything like schizophrenia. And she was acute and chronic schizophrenic, totally left all reality and ended up just in her own fantasies. And it was her father who did all this to her, 200 times. I mean, it's incredible how and now today with what we're hearing, it's I think it's one of the worst things that a man can do, especially a father. So anyway, my drinking probably took off a little bit more at that time. Another crossroads. We still had a few dollars, even though I was spending a lot of money with Mary Ann in the hospitals, and I spent all of it actually, and put the house in another mortgage, had 3 mortgages, and we combined all of them and had 1 mortgage, and in the end it went into foreclosure in '71, the house, and that was another crossroads. It's a beautiful home. It's, you know, I think it's 4 bedrooms. I added a guest house to it at one time. And anyway, I drank all over Playa del Rey. Anybody who drank over there knows me. I was in all the bars over there, every one of them. I loved Jake's at the Shore. They closed it down about 10 years ago. They were going to put a freeway through Playa del Rey, like eminently. It was going to happen overnight, but Jake's at the Shore still sits over there, and there's been no roads built. And the La Marina Inn is where Sophie worked for years. See, I knew Sophie very well in my drinking years. I knew her very well. I went down to Redondo Beach when Sophie went to her first meeting. I think some of you must know Sophie if you were around in those early years. She's now moved up to somewhere off the coast of Washington, up near Seattle. But we were great friends, and the next morning she shows up at the Marina Center. There's Sophie walking through the door, and I go to the Marina Center every morning. They have a morning meeting over there, and I've been around trying to get that meeting going in the early years, and so I go every morning. I used to drink at that time in the morning, so I go to that meeting every morning, and who comes through the door but Sophie? So we've been walking. Then she went to work at St. Anne's Maternity, and she started more than 1 or 2 meetings too. She's a great kid, Sophie. And here we are talking tonight, a Playa del Rey meeting. Here we are in Westchester, you know. That was the only meeting in Playa del Rey. There is still no meetings, I don't think, in Playa del Rey, within the whatever confines, the boundaries of Playa del Rey. Maybe we'll start one up over there. I'm getting back a lot of vigor now, getting full of piss and vinegar here. I had open heart surgery 2 years ago, another crossroads. I thought I was going in for the count this time, but had a 6-way bypass. Anybody who knows anything about bypasses, why, usually they're 2 or 3 or 4. Quadruple sounds like enough to me. But they told me, well, we're going to take all, I think it's all your arteries. That's about it, isn't it, Karen? You only have 6, don't you? I think so. Take the veins out of your leg and craft them to be arteries. And, well, it was a close call. And priest came by to see me the night before it all, and wanted to give me extreme unction. I said, no, I'm not going anywhere. I went to confession to him. I'm Catholic, so and after I did, it was only a couple of minutes. He says, oh, don't worry about that, don't worry about that. Okay, anything else? No, nothing else. It was real quick, you know, boom, boom, which is good for me, because, you know. But after the surgery, he came by every day with Holy Communion for me. He came right into my room, this priest. He was from Africa, and when he didn't come in, there'd be one of the sisters come in. A couple of sisters from Holy Family Adoption Service came in, and I knew them both because that was one of my clients back in the 60s. I ended up with about 20 clients. I opened Donkin's Inn back in 62, 63. I don't know anybody who knows how the Marina got going. We were the first restaurant except for the Pieces of 8 over there. Pieces of 8 had the guy out on the highway there with the parrot and the wooden leg and all the rest of it, and then we opened up Donkin's, and we had champagne breakfasts, and we were right on the wharf over there, and we had 12 slips. So you could just come over there in your canoe or whatever you had, and you could have a 50-foot boat and pull it in there, have a little breakfast with champagne, and the place took off after about 2 or 3 years, old Donkin's. Anyway, I had many clients. I worked on Governor Brown's campaign, and in 62, and then we lost in 66 when you know who ran, Governor Reagan there. We never dreamed he had a prayer. In fact, we worked like hell to defeat the other guy in the primary, the other Republican, and we all just coasted on the oars. Really, that's still a miracle to me how he ever. He hasn't been the greatest friend to me. I've been an advocate for the poor ever since I've been here in California. I did many pro bono things in the 60s. I say use that legal term because I got active with Chavez and his union up there, put in at least 6 years up there in Salinas, and who's been there in the last 2 years? But one of my granddaughters has been. She's graduating on June 8th from UC up at Santa Cruz, and she calls me the day. Well, Grandpa, I'm going to be picking up where you left off with Chavez and everything. I said, what are you talking about? Well, she's been going to Salinas and working in the hiring hall that I helped raise the money for. It took we raised about 10 grand. I got the building, and ultimately we opened it up full bore for them. The first hiring hall that the farm workers ever had. And, they've fallen on hard times again and again and again down the years. But, I did a lot of these things, and drinking all the way through the 60s. I get back to what I'm talking about tonight here. Was it getting up? I can't even see the clock. What is it, 8 o'clock or so up there? I could go on until midnight, as everybody knows. I get talking a little bit here about some of these things. 5 after, good. Thank you. Beautiful, Karen. Anyway, I work with what's his name too, with all the racial strife with Martin Luther King, and so that year when he got shot in '68, what was that? April, wasn't it, of '68? And then, of course, Bobby got shot, and I was in the Ambassador that night. He got shot. A little part of me went out of just blew right out because Jack had already been shot in '63, and I knew the Kennedy family. The tragedies that have befallen that family, really, I don't know of any family ever. It's like a Greek tragedy. You'd have to make it up, you would think, or have somebody write about it. Rosemary, Joe Kennedy had her, she had a lobotomy, actually the first lobotomy I think they ever did. Did it on Rosemary. He thought it would help her, I guess, but she went completely insane. Has been in board and care facilities ever since, Rosemary. And you know what happened to Joe Kennedy in this plane? He volunteered to fly this rocket over to Germany to get over the English Channel, and it blew up. And then Jack and Bobby, and then one of the daughters died over France. So sad times. But to cut to the chase, when Bobby was shot, I knew he was dead. I walked around to the back there. I could see that he didn't have a chance. He was, oh God, I won't go into it, but. Some of the guys went over to Good Samaritan with him and kept vigil outside the hospital. But I said, no, I think I'll just go across the street to the little bar over there that I had frequented anyway a few times. I'm trying to think of the name of the place. You had to walk down the stairs there. Maybe it's gone by now. I'm not trying to promote any of these bars. I'm just trying to give myself an anchor here to find out where the hell I am here with this whole. But So by 71, my business had collapsed. I just wasn't able to keep up with raising the kids, and I opened an office at home, and slowly but surely, Mary Ann began writing to all my clients, telling them what a lousy father I was. The kids weren't being fed, and all, and just going completely crazy, and filed for a divorce, and I went into the court telling there's no way we're getting a divorce. I had no intention. I still loved her, and I think a part of me still does, no matter what's come down, but she wanted a divorce, and we had to go to court, and we got one. Then she wanted an annulment of all things. We got an annulment in '75. So again, over my protestations. But they had a file this high off the floor on her father by this time. There was no question that Mary Ann probably never had the ability. She was not to blame at all for any of it, but. So anyway, I'm bringing up few of these things just to let you know that the drinking game was right with me through all of this. I ended up drinking all over Playa del Rey. Some people think I own half the bars over there because I was in them all the time, and it was real tragic. I would have gone down, except a buddy of mine, Mike H. I had drank with him. He owned a couple of bars over in Santa Monica. Would get thrown out of one. I used to tell him, what do you mean? But nobody's throwing us out of your own bar here, Michael. But don't worry, Joe, baby. I own the bar across the street, the Brigadoon. So we'd go over to the Brigadoon. And, I didn't get thrown out of too many bars. That's what I'm trying. not go that easy anyway. I ended up working as a bouncer sometimes all during the 70s. So it's a huge thing when you try to raise even 1 or 2 kids, but when you have 8 of them running around with coaches saying, "Wow, those Adidas are a little tight on you, Mike." My son Michael played, a great soccer player, and Julia became a great swimmer. She still holds some of the records, I think. I don't know if that's still, but she was very quick in the water and freestyle. And the others were, you just took a lot more than just feeding them and taking care of them at home. You had many things going on at school, and I guess 4 of them have gone on to graduate from college now, and now Rebecca's graduating the same day that Melissa is. Melissa's going to go off to Stanford, and I don't know what the course is. It's in sociology anyway. She'll be prepared to go back to work in Salinas after a couple of years, and she wants to get at least a master's degree. And Rebecca's going on to, I guess, to law school, Harvard Law School. And she called me here last week. "Hey, Grandpa. Sometimes it's Grandpa, or sometimes it's Papa Joe, and she's got a scholarship to Harvard Law School, Rebecca. So they're both graduating the same time and the same day up in Santa Cruz. 4 of my children live up there. They all have families. I got 23 grandkids, by the way, so you don't want to get me talking about all of them because it's not all peaches and cream. One of my grandsons is in a jail in Provo, Utah. He's been alcoholic for at least 12 years, and he turned to heroin here in the past 4 years, and now he has a little pride. He talks about, "Well, I'm a heroin addict, Papa Joe." Heroin addict. Oh, my daughter Julia thinks his days are numbered, that he might. Anyway, he's in a jail for the 9th time in the last 2 years, and so say a prayer for him, Jesse. Anyway, I got sober finally. Mike came into a couple of barmaids at the Prince called him up on a Sunday afternoon. He never worked Sunday, so the coincidences of how we ever get across the threshold of an AA meeting, we talk about spiritual experiences. I think they begin right there for many reasons. I wouldn't have gone to an AA meeting with anybody but Mike. And I thought he had died truly because I hadn't seen him in about 10 months. And we were back to back for many years drinking. But he had gone to St. John's and he was sober. And these 2 ladies, Yvonne and Mary Jo, I knew them well. They knew me. They tell Mike, "Whatever you can do, Papa Joe will be dead within a week or 2. And I would have. My liver regurgitated too. I almost blew that out with the drinking. And I would have died. And I'd have gone down just telling you to shoot straight and pour me another and don't worry about it. I've had a good 49 years, and what the hell, we all die. All that bullshit we alcoholics throw out there when someone's trying to help us. And anyway, when he came into the bar and said, "No, I don't want to drink," I already had him a couple of shooters on the bar and a cold beer, but he said, No, I just came by to say hello, and I'm in AA now, and Mary Jo called me and Werner, and they're very worried about you and thought maybe you might come to an AA meeting. And well, I had 3 502s, and I was in jail a few, in the local jail over in Venice over there, more than once or twice for being a little bit obnoxious in public, whatever. So he came the next night, and I went to the meeting over at the Marina Center, and who was there but Howard Poland standing in the door. We both went into a state of shock because I surely thought he had died, because one day he was gone. He had gone to AA around 73, and we'd already been drinking together a good 5-6 years. And then when I walked in, for sure he thought no chance I'd still be alive. And we've been very tight friends ever since. We're very tight. But anyway, that's how I began my life in AA back in 82, June 28th. So I'm coming up on a pretty big birthday for me in a couple of days here. Once I got to AA, my sister let me know just 3 years ago how much she had prayed for me ever since I was 14. I was a pretty good athlete. I played a lot of hockey in Boston. I played for the Hyde Park Blackhawks. Hyde Park is a part of Boston out near Dedham. One of my uncles was in Dedham out there, and I used to go. That's how I got involved in Hyde Park anyway. Anyway, I could skate like the wind, very good, and I had a couple of scouts after me, and they wanted me to go to the junior leagues up there, but my father was a little bit opposed to that. I was already working with Pesci Construction, and I was working in the ballparks in Boston. I worked in both the Brace Field and Fenway Park, and And I was bringing home on a weekly basis a couple of $100 for quite a while, all through those early years, 13, 14, 15. And she said, I knew you were finished, or you had a problem with the bottle when you turned down that opportunity to play with the old Chicago Blackhawks. And that was another crossroads, wasn't it? See, I think about things. I can give you probably 20 different crossroads that I came to, and if I hadn't been a drunk, and if I had just whatever, I would have probably done a few of these things. Anyway, that's how it all began. I got to that meeting, and so Howard said to me, Joe, we're trying to get these morning meetings started. Why don't you come by in the morning? You certainly spend a lot of your mornings drinking every morning at 5:30 and 5 o'clock. Why don't you come over here? We're trying to get these morning meetings going again. And so the next morning I woke up, and after thinking about it, I'm still, shaking. I mean, I was in bad shape. For 9 months, I had to put my elbows on my knees. I had to get hot water pads for my knees and put my elbows in hot water just to get them so I could get them fluid. Took about 20 minutes or a half an hour every morning. Put them in these big buckets of hot water. And I had alcoholic, what they call syndrome of the bone marrow, of all things. And well, that's gone too. I mean, I've recovered from a lot of these things that happened to me. I quickly, I don't know, my life in AA has been one of. I love how Bill talks about how he had to call on his newfound friend. He says that I'm just going to quote page 13 a little bit, because I love that paragraph that's on the page. And about halfway down the paragraph, he talks, and he asked his newfound friend, and of course he was a Methodist, I think, and he believed in God, but he hadn't done much praying or thinking about him at all, and until he was in a hospital, his 5th trip into the hospitals, and finally he had bit the bullet. He admitted that he was powerless over alcohol, and his life was unmanageable. And then we come on to the second step there with this. I had to call on my newfound friend to relieve my character defects and my sins, he says, and he took them out root and branch. Now that language that he uses all the time just really, I don't know if it grabs anybody else, but root and branch. If you ever had to dig out a few trees or stumps somewhere in the field, you know what digging them out, root and branch, means. You get a tractor and take half a day to pull them out sometimes. And so that God would take this disease of alcoholism on a daily basis away from him, root and branch. There's a period there. And then he says, and I haven't had a drink since. That particular part of the book has always just impressed me. I mean, I related to Bill. I mean, I went to law school nights like he did, and he was in the Army during the First World War, and somewhat like I was in the Korean War, and he drank like I did. I think it was gin in his case, but with me it was whiskey, Irish whiskeys. I can tell you the names of every one of them if you wanted to know them. Tillemore Dew or Murphy's, I can get going here, but the whole crew of them. We never drank Bushmills because that was made up in the northern county up there near Belfast. So, and that's the most popular Irish whiskey, isn't it? Everybody gives. I would get bottles of Bushmills. When I drank, I could give a shit less, really. But it was late in the game there when we began to say, well, I'm not going to drink Bushmills. Have you got any Murphys? Tillemore Dew. There's a few others, but. So I got to that morning meeting, and I still go there every morning. I've gone every morning for 20 years. If you come on over there any morning, I'm over there. I get there usually 5:30, 6 o'clock. My friend Alex, what the hell is he? He's probably gone to sleep. He's sick of listening to me up there. He takes me over now every morning. I can't drive. I can't really read anything. And I have to be careful. Even writing a check, then I got to be sure, am I on the damn line here? But it's getting on. I'm getting a little better. There's some hope. I may be able to get glasses this year. My life is full of doctors now. I got to go to these heart doctors all the time. Oh, how you feeling? They're amazed that I'm doing so well. I'm out walking 10, 12 miles a day, and I do push-ups in the morning. I got the Marine Corps manual out there for sit-ups and push-ups, and I'd be running, but they're telling me don't run because, might give your hips and your knees. And, well, I can understand that, but still I'm probably going to do a little running one of these days. But I'm not walking these 10 miles in less than 2 hours. It's like 5-minute miles, and that's incredible. They can't believe it. One of the doctors wants to write me up and send it off to the American, wherever, the New England Journal of Medicine. It just isn't supposed to happen with this many bypasses. And I'm an alcoholic to boot, you know. I got diabetes rampant, and that's another thing I have to watch like a hawk here. But anyway, as I began, I was asked to join the Clare Board Foundation over there, Clare Foundation, and I thought I was joining something that the Sisters of the Poor Clares had something to do with, you know, the Clare Foundation. And I couldn't believe they were asking me to join the board. Someone had told them that I had a lot of experience raising money, and I did. I had many clients that I raised a lot of money for, not only in the political arena, but hospitals. The Brothers of St. John of God were one, and I did a lot of work with St. John's and Daniel Freeman Hospital. Spent 5-6 years with Daniel Freeman. I don't know how much we raised back in the middle 60s, maybe 10 million. That's about the right figure. And so I knew how to raise money, and I still do. And I think maybe as I get a little better here, I'm thinking about opening up an office and get a little foundation started up again, and maybe go about the business of starting up another shelter. But anyway, I got on the Clare board, and right away we get into projects. They wanted to build a new recovery house. They wanted to open up the Women with Children program, and we opened up the Sober Inn. Some of you may know the Sober Inn. We had it going for a good 10, 12 years, and it's no longer open as the Sober Inn. The space is still there, and we had a homeless center right next to the Sober Inn, and anybody could get in line over there. We'd have 800-900 people over there, have mothers in line with babies, kids that were barefoot, and they needed clothing, and that's why we had the homeless center going right there. And we put in 31 beds in the back of the Sober Inn, and had a shelter started up there. They put another 20 up the street on 9th Street over there. And I got involved with the Turning Point shelter, and then we put that shelter in the basement of a church over there at 6th and Arizona Street, and all of this is a part of my my life in AA. I never. This is all again pro bono. I never took a penny, and I wouldn't take it. I believe it was freely given to me, and anything I do in AA is free as the breeze. I've been asked a few times to think about being a director of this or that and get paid, but decided it's best for me just to show up in AA. My life here is the AA way of life, and I love the second step. We ask to be restored to sanity, and for me, the sanity for me is just don't take a drink today. That's all. Just don't drink today. Get the plug in the jug. Get rid of the jug. Dump it somewhere, and get up in the morning, and the third step is one of my favorite prayers that are in the book, is the third step prayer, where we ask God to relieve us of the bondage of self. And we all get hung up with memories. I have many of them, and they're coming on pretty good in the last few years here. I was drinking raising all these kids, and in my early years, I could tell you, well, like I just did, talking about when they're going to law school and blah blah blah. But it wasn't all that pretty, I mean, I was a father who was a drunk, so I never did anything physical with anybody. But if I couldn't get in the door at 4 o'clock in the morning and I lost the key, I get up to weighing about 280, 290, 300. I just put an elbow or a shoulder into the door and go flying off the hinges. And some of my older daughters would be sitting there when they have a little party there at night or something, so those are the kinds of things that you can say you're sorry and make amends. I've made 1,001 amends to each of them, but still it isn't enough, So we have to, but that's a bondage that comes over us, I think. These fears we have when we wake up about every damn thing, the brain gets going, and the best way for me to slow the whole thing down is to just say that third step prayer. I love the lines in that. Relieve me of the bondage of self, and then let me be an example of your love and your power, your way of life. That's an incredible suggestion there, proposal, isn't it? When you think about it, it parallels the prayer that St. Francis has. Let me just give love rather than receive love. And over the last few days, I've come across these Jewish mystics. I've been reading a book, and Alex has been reading. He comes over a lot to read. We're reading one again today, and Jewish mystics believe that rather than going off to a monastery and getting away from the community, they believe in staying in the community, so that the community can see that they're there to help them with whatever problems they have with finding God or any help they may need with their various difficulties. And I kind of think that's what we do in AA. We're not of much use to alcoholics, I don't think, if we go off and join a monastery. But here, we can be the equal of that and be just as close to God, if not closer. Because I think every time we reach out to help anybody who's struggling, that we're probably reaching out to Christ himself. In my case, I believe in Christ, and I believe in what he said, when you do it to the least of my brethren, you do it unto me. I mean, it's very clear. I think most Christians will believe in that as well. That's not a new thought at all. It's an incredible thing when you can help somebody who's in the gutter or drunk, and you can cradle him. If you get a vision of, you're actually cradling Christ himself in your arms. It's an incredible, I mean, that's very spiritual to me. I think these steps are as spiritual a way of life as any that has ever been conceived, and I'm very well aware of the Catholic traditions and the monastic traditions. I've been in monasteries on retreats and whatever, and I go up the coast to the monastery of a Big Sur up there. Maybe some of you get up there. Am I going over here? What time do I stop here? Probably right now, Terry, huh? 5 more minutes? Oh, God. Anyway, what I'm trying to say is my life in AA has come on that way. I got to be known as the homeless connection down on Skid Row and all around the whole LA area here. I put together about 2 million sandwiches over, I don't know, a 10, 12-year period. And there was another 2 or 3 million sandwiches made by the people around me who would bring me in bags of 3, 4, 500 sandwiches. And I'd take them everywhere that there was a soup kitchen, or North Hollywood Park, where there'd be 300, 400 people in the park waiting to be fed. And I had the car loaded up with blankets and sleeping bags and overcoats and every other damn thing. I must have had 40, 50, 60 pairs of shoes. So anybody needed shoes, well, there was usually a pair of shoes that may not be what they wanted, but they could wear them. And I only say these things because I feel that that's what we're all called to do in AA. We just grow very, very, very close to God, and the closer we get to God, then the further away we are from even a thought of taking a drink. I mean, that's worked for me anyway. I got to say, I've never come even close to taking a drink since I got sober. The craving's been removed. The obsession has been removed. I never thought of taking a drink in the hospital with this thing, with the surgery here. Doctor told me, it wouldn't be a bad idea if you had a little hot toddy every night, when you get home. And I'd already told them all, I told them I'm an alcoholic, and they do a very thorough investigation of who you are before they open you up for this surgery. It was a 9-hour job, and I think they laid it out on a slab somewhere, and I don't know what they do, Karen, but I've never investigated what they do. I'm just glad the thing is working here these days. And so, the third, the 11th step again is we're seeking through prayer and meditation. Prayer and meditation are just the tools we're going to reach down into our little kit of tools there to do something, to improve our conscious contact with God. I mean, how we can be in AA and not begin to see what's going on amongst us here. It's such a spiritual program for lay people, like these Jewish mystics. Rather than going off to a monastery, they stay in the community. And today we're reading a book, Alex is reading a book, Zen and the art of whatever there, and they're talking about the same thing. The Zen masters, I mean, those who practice Zen and Buddhism, have the same view. Rather than going off only into one room, it says, they prefer to stay like in a multi-roomed home. And so they aren't in their own room just meditating and praying, but anybody in the whole home can be open to them, and they can go up the corridors and open the doors. Doors can open up to them. They can come to visit these Zen Buddhists. And the thoughts, I'm just speaking on these things because we aren't the only ones that have a spiritual path, but the coincidences of 3 of us now, and the Catholic tradition is somewhat the same too, except we still have many men and women who go up into monasteries and live isolated lives, and if that's God's will, that's fine. But I think God's will for us is to be as active as we can be, helping others, and never turn anybody down. I've sponsored many men, and I've never said to anybody, I'm too busy, and who you are, and you're going to do what I tell you. Nobody calls me at a certain time, or I don't care how they dress. I don't have to dress up at all. I don't give a shit. What do I care? It's an inside job, isn't it? We have to admit deep into on the inside here that we have this disease. Nothing to do with our outsides. Our outsides have absolutely nothing to do with it. If we don't admit it deep in the bowels of our belly somewhere, then, I got the disease of alcoholism. And now what am I going to do about it? What's the solution? All of the second, third, and fourth chapters in the book are around the solution. around the first and second steps. The solution is to call on God. Call on God. Do the same thing with our character defects in 6 and 7. Very simple. They're simple and short little steps there, but that's only because they're so brilliant. Just ask God for the willingness to ask Him to take away your character defects. And the 7th step, we do the same thing. They just change it to shortcomings. We humbly ask Him to remove our shortcomings. Now, why go into all the business of digging up all the pros and cons of whom I'm going to see, what books I'm going to read, what do I have this shortcoming or not, and what's the depth of it? Just ask God to remove them. I've tried to do that, and I've had a pretty good shot at it, so thanks for listening to me. Yeah?
I think we got a great talk going on here. Thanks for watching the channel. Taper Dave here. Just curious, do you think this is better than Zoom? Okay, this is how I prepare my drone for launching. I like to do it inside the cab of my truck so I'm not standing outside in the weather. To install the joysticks for control, up and down, right and left, powered on. I have an Android phone that I use to connect it to the drone with. And it's actually controlled through the iPhone, through an app. Oops, wrong way. It's actually controlled through the iPhone, or through this Android phone, through the app. It's actually controlled through the Android phone, through an app, and you connect it through this short connection right here.
Remote control connected.
Remote control's connected. So I pull out the drone. I have to extend the legs. Long legs extended first, then the short legs. Remove the gimbal protector. Set that aside, then power it on one short burst, then one long burst. I lay it down. So I have to go to calibrate. So the drone's not connected yet. It shows you here as this drone gets disconnected, even though the remote's powered on. So the drone has to establish it's connected. So I go into the app to calibration mode. First I'll calibrate the remote controller. Start calibration. Out, in, oop, out, in, up, down, and then this little wheel is to control the gimbal. So it's calibrated. Go to gimbal calibration, start calibration, and then it calibrates the gimbal. I don't know if that shows up. The gimbal's moving all over the place. Changes, you can see it on the video. And I'm calibrated to take off. It's acquired 7 satellites at the moment. There are 26 satellites up in the sky, which it has to acquire before you can take off. So it's connected. It's got enough satellites. This is white. I can go to press this little arrow button, swipe right to take off, and it would start the motors if I slid this to the right. But I'll wait till I get outside. Don't want to do it inside.